to check in with y'all and just to say some things, you know. Just let me get to where I'm going real quick. Real quick. Thank you. Esto no es vestido. I have a man asking me if I'm wearing shorts or a dress. Yo no tengo maquillaje. Nada de maquillaje. Y estoy sudando. No se mira que estoy, haciendo, poniendo energía a mirarme así, ¿no? Al último, ¿qué le hace? Like, what does it matter? I told him, because he asked in Spanish, and I said, well, I'm sweating, I don't have any makeup on. Why would I be wearing a dress? Or why, if it looks like I'm not putting energy into that, I think that answers your question. You know what I mean? Thank you. Thank you, Miss Kim. That is the point. That's the point. That is the point. Did I say it? Let me say it again. No, I did say it. I did. Okay, here we go. If this is one of the first videos you're watching of mine, welcome. If this is, you're returning, you've been a follower of mine, welcome back. And thank you. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much. Hola, gracias. Hugs right back to you, Kennedy, Texas. Thank you, Corina. Gracias. Prayers to Tennessee and prayers to Central Texas, Kerrville. Kerr County. I haven't gone live to talk about that, but you all know that I have a lot to say about that, right? I'm from the southernmost tip of Texas, and the reason why I even have this social media is because 10 going on 11 years ago, I didn't have a social media footprint. No, I had to stand up for people that I loved, and you don't do that in a small, deep South county. You don't. And you most certainly, well, at least not 10 years ago. No. So when I saw that people in power were doing the wrong thing, well, and I knew that they were keeping it quiet because nobody's going to want people knowing you're doing that. My only choice really was to survive publicly. And well, they waged war against me. No, I'm not kidding. A district attorney, judges, law enforcement. They did. They did. My book will be out soon. I'm likely the most prosecuted woman in all of America, probably. They counted on my story not getting out, and they underestimated my ability to survive them. They all did. The local papers and the local news stations as well. So I knew I knew that I just had to wait. So during this time that I grew an audience, surviving all these people, I started to talk about things that I've always been interested in, and one of the biggest things is just humanity and the way that the human mind works and the behaviors of human people. If you look at my previous videos, those of you that have been following me for a long time know that I had an unorthodox upbringing. I had a lot of access to information, and it was unbridled. Nobody told me, you cannot read this, you cannot read that. I taught myself how to read. And the first book that I read from cover to cover, well, let me tell you why I'm telling you this. I love y'all very much here in South Texas. But if you all have been following me for a while here in the Rio Grande Valley, the Rio Grande Valley is made up of the 4 southernmost counties in Texas. Starr County, starting from the west. Starr County, Hidalgo County, and Cameron County. Those are the 3 most southern counties. They make up the bottom tip of Texas, the southernmost tip of Texas. Those 3 counties border the Rio Grande River that empties out into the Gulf of Mexico. I'm from Willacy County. We're just above, directly north of Cameron County. And when they waged war against me, and well, I pushed back, 3 years into that survival, I got into politics. And you know, I was one of the loudest and strongest Bernie supporters in these 4 counties. And people didn't like that. The Republicans didn't like it because, well, you're not a Republican. And the Democrats hated it because they wanted Hillary Clinton to win. They couldn't stand that somebody was fiercely supporting another Democrat. Well, the thing is that Bernie was for the environment, and he was really for all the issues that mattered. Everything that actually really mattered, that's what he was for. Everything that the Democrat Party was always supposed to be about is what Bernie was for. And so I aligned with a lot of his views because a lot of his views, he was on the right side of the issue. He still is. And so during that time, I wound up having to survive more people from the public. Men in politics, trying to be in politics, trying to make a name for themselves. You see me here with no microphone, no fancy backdrop, no stage, nothing like that. But then you see all of the people that were hateful, by the way, that I influenced, and you see them with all their props. So all those people tried to destroy my life in their own brand of hate. They're all in my book, by the way. Every single one of them. If you feel because I've not mentioned your name that I survived you and you know very well that I did, you're in my book. I'll be waiting for a lawsuit. It won't happen because it's a true story. I digress. So here recently, because of the floods, I've had some people from my county, from these counties, message me and tell me that there's, you know, people that are interested in the flooding and the, you know, the cancer rates and this and that. I know that I have been off of social media more than I've been on social media, especially in the last 3 years that the tables started to turn in this battle of my survival versus the people trying to make me be anything but a survivor, right? And so I want to remind people, I have an aversion to aligning forces with especially men. Especially men. Just so that you know, if it's a man that has ever been on a podcast of another man that has shown me hate, that credibility is already questioned in my mind about that person that you are trying to introduce me to. Because obviously that person cares more about getting their name out there than they care about attaching themselves with hate like that. If they've ever done a split screen with another man that knows nothing about science and has not been successful in his political endeavors, and the man you're trying to introduce me to is wondering why no one's talking about the cancer rates, but you're doing a split screen with a man from Mission, Texas, that means that you haven't done your research. I actually got my degree in biology and chemistry. I actually know why we can't eat the fish. I've been in more homes than I think probably anybody in America has in the last 20 years. More homes, especially here in South Texas. I've seen every walk of life in their most vulnerable state. I worked for heart surgeons, and because they were heart surgeons, they were also trauma surgeons, and they were also the last hope for people with cancer when all else fails. It was surgery that they needed. And we were right next to a very renowned and beloved oncologist. And that experience that I had made me become aware of the strangely high cancer cases here in the Rio Grande Valley, especially in Willacy County. As I continued my education at UTPA, now University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, and I was going into my higher level biology classes, I started to put everything together, not just with my biology classes, but with my sociology classes and my psychiatry classes, my psychology classes. And so I started to question things, and this whole time I was still going into the homes of these people. And so for the last 25 years, 30 years, the first thing that I ask people is when they tell me, because people, strangely, they open up to me because they feel comfortable talking to me. And they'll tell me, well, you know, my so-and-so had a strange cancer, and it is a strange cancer. It's a cancer that not too many people have. And I have also previously mentioned how almost every family has somebody in their family, a child that was born in the last 20 years with some kind of neurological birth defect. And it's hard to not attribute all that to our water table. It's hard to not attribute that to the years of pesticide use and the PCBs, the polychlorinated biphenyl byproducts that are very much found in the waterways of the Rio Grande Valley, which is why you cannot eat the fish. You're not supposed to, because it stays in organic matter. It stays in your tissues. It stays in the tissues of those fish. It stays in the humans and the animals that ingest those fish. And I've learned through my experience and asking people and having discussions with people, when they tell me about a family member that has had a certain kind of cancer that is strange, I ask them, my first question always is, did you work in the fields, like as a migrant worker, or did you live near a field? Did your grandparents, that's my next question, And what I have noticed is that when both sets of grandparents worked in the fields, and then those parents of those grandparents worked in the fields, the number of cancer cases in that family is a lot more. And to me, that's not a coincidence. It just can't be. But I've been asking all those questions because the first book that I read was Rachel Carson's Silent Spring. I'm not somebody that just suddenly became interested in, all these things that are going to happen to our world. No, I was that strange kid that read that book, and I had to read it 3 times to understand it fully. And even then, I didn't really completely understand it until I was in college. But I got the ABCs of it. And I was that weird kid that started the 3rd grade talking about pollution and water, and how when the animals are affected and the insects are affected, we're all affected. And how if we don't do something about it, right? So when you all tag me, I love y'all. When you all tag me that there's a man asking these questions, I've been talking about these issues for 10 years. I've been talking about these issues for 10 years. My videos are there. Now I've been downloading all my videos because I have to, because Facebook's going to delete them all, right? In August, I asked for the extension. Right? But all of my videos are there. Nothing that I'm saying is a lie, because I have a lot of people that do not like me and that want to introduce me to the world as a liar, A, B, and C, worst person for A, B, and C reason, right? And I'm not going to have that. That's not going to happen. No. If anything, their attempts are going to underscore what I've always said, is to judge me based on the people that judge me. Just, if you really want to know what's going on, just look, listen, hear, and research the people that do not like me. And that will tell you everything you need to know. Everything. So when you all tag me with a man, and in the course of me entering politics, I met with people in Mission, Texas. And so when this man is saying, well, there's this certain chemical inside the water in Mission, Texas, and why isn't anybody talking about it? They did talk about it. I know because I met with them, the families that were directly affected. And you might want to do your research, because the reason that they were able to win a lawsuit was because there was generations and generations of newborns that were not making it, and women having an enormous amount of miscarriages. All of it was environmental. None of those chemicals have gotten out of the water. None of them. And they had to be quiet because they were targeted politically. So when you all tag me with a man that's bringing up like the name Aaron Brockovich, I've spoken about all of that. Everything. The flooding, all of it. Everything. Everything. So I do things on my own. On my own. I'm not going to rely on anybody local to join forces with anybody. I'm doing fine on my own. I've shown in the last 10 years that I've cared about the issues even as I'm literally surviving. I care so much that the United Nations has 20 points of sustainability for any community in the world. And in 2017, I went to the United Nations NGO, NGO Summit, Non-Governmental Organization Summit. And I'm documented stating, hey, I come from the Rio Grande Valley. And I want to let you know that we are living third world conditions down there. And those 20 points of sustainability include the amount of corruption, your access to clean water, your ability to vote, the level of justice, all of that. Environmental issues, everything. And we fail a lot of those points of sustainability. But I've also made videos letting y'all know that the most important thing in the world is our environment right now. But people don't really care. They don't. And I learned that years ago during this 10-year fight for survival. They don't. They'll make fun of you. They're calling that man the crazy lady. And I feel bad for him, because if he does care about the Rio Grande Valley, you know, that's what they did to me. Enough talking about the water already. And he's going through it. I see it. I see it. Enough talking about the floods already. All of that I've talked about. And I'm doing this because I want to remind you that if you, especially the people that maybe started following me because of Uvalde, right? And then shortly thereafter, I started going not live more than I was live, and going on a hiatus more than I was actually activated. Right? And so you may not remember, or you may not know, that I spoke of all those issues. I've been speaking of them for 10 years. I've been talking about it. We just don't have enough people in the Rio Grande Valley that care about climate change. Remember, we are one of the most poorly educated areas of the nation. I remember 10 years ago when I said that, people that wanted other people to hate me would use that as a bone of contention by saying, look, she's calling us stupid. No, I'm stating what the statistics are. It's the truth. I've had to survive many of these minds. Some of them know not what they do, and some of them know exactly what they do when they sling their hate my way. Since I was a kid, I survived them. So I know the mentality down here. And some of the brightest minds, they understand the importance of climate change. They understand the dangers of our water table. They see the correlation. They see at least a connectivity. Some things there regarding the high cancer rates and the type of cancer. You see, but like people like Aaron Brockovich, yeah, chromium in the water, yeah, it is the same chemical that Aaron Brockovich exposed a company, you know, contaminating the water tablet of innocent people. She was in California. I just want to let y'all know that y'all are tagging me. Y'all are tagging somebody that learned a very harsh lesson. Yeah. It's easy to do what I tried to do in New York City. It's easy to do what I tried to do down here in California. In Deep South Texas, no. In the reddest state in the nation, absolutely not. No. And if you do it, you cannot do it in that kind of approach. In the same approach that I took 10 years ago, you just cannot. You can't. Now here recently, I've seen some Republicans start to care about climate change, start to care about how environmental issues may exacerbate natural disasters and worsen them in a way that could have been prevented, or in a way that the damage could have been mitigated had we actually paid attention to these issues 40, 50, 40, 30, 20 years ago. You see? But maybe it had to be them that starts the movement, especially in a state like Texas. Sometimes you have to let them think that they came up with the idea of, hey, this is important, even though we all know that the rest of the world, at least the more progressive states in the nation, have already cared about those issues for a very long time. You can't take the same approach that they took. You can't do Aaron Brockovich in Texas. You can't. They don't like that approach. And unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what side of the political spectrum you're on, if you really do want to get things done and you care about humanity, you have to accept that you live in Texas and you cannot go about it that way. You just can't. You can't. They don't appreciate that here. That is not what they are accustomed to. And you have to accept that they are the ones that are in power. If what you care about more is helping people, not just getting your name out there, then you're going to understand that. And you're going to understand that the approach that you take may matter just as much as the passion that you try to evoke in the hearts of other people. So when you see your movement is not taking off, you might want to reconsider your approach. You can't take New York City approaches here or California approaches here. And it's sad because we're most at risk. Because not only are they undereducated, they don't want to hear it. In fact, they'll sometimes do things to silence you. And they'll ridicule you into silence, even. That never worked with me. I just decided years ago, like 3 or 4, there's just certain issues that I'm just not going to talk about the way I've been talking about them. And I kind of want to see what leaders in Texas are going to do what when the time comes. So when you tag me, thank you for thinking of me. But just know, I've been speaking of these issues way before these men ever brought these issues up. And if I were those families that were targeted politically for trying to raise awareness to their story, the families that were directly affected by the water contamination in areas of Mission, Texas, I would feel a little disrespected. Because if you really care about the area, you would wonder, why didn't somebody who's in politics in Mission, Texas, that I did a split screen with, inform me of this? Why did he let me keep saying, why is no one in Mission talking about it? Oh, they did. They were politically targeted when they did. Yeah, there's areas in McAllen also. Whole neighborhoods, whole generations, also strange cancers, all clustered. I know, because I've been in those homes. I've been a nurse for them. I've been a nurse for their families, and yeah. So that's what I have to say. So y'all don't need to tag me in that. I've been there. I've spoken about it. They can, I root for them in all the ways that they want to, do what's best for the people in the Rio Grande Valley. I know that I'm just the type of person that I will have to do whatever I'm going to do. Eventually, it's going to be by myself, and it's going to be at a time when they're just going to need something different. Period. And we all know that I'm probably as different as it gets. And I'm okay with that. So, to all of you ladies and some gentlemen, before all these men were talking about environmental issues, I was doing it, and I was doing it during my survival. Unflinching. But I stopped for all the reasons I stated in this video. The one thing that I didn't stop is caring. And I'm never going to stop caring. I just have to show my love in a different way. Because Texas is special and unique. It doesn't feel love the way that California feels love. It doesn't feel love the way that New York City feels love. And just like one person, you have to love an area and demonstrate love to an area and concern to an area in a way that they receive love. And the way that they can understand. That's what caring about issues is. That's what passion is. Why is she talking about love and you have to love humanity? If you really care about these issues, it's because you love humanity. You care. Caring is love. And all humans want to be able to say, I agree, is to feel that you love what they can relate to and in the way that they love and can receive love about whatever issue matters to you. Well, that's all I have to say about that. This is me being, I guess, weird again. The people in California and New York City and outside of, in other areas of Texas know, that is how they feel down here. And I'm already used to not caring. I've never cared. I'm not going to talk about as much as I want to be talk about this issue of the flooding, the way that I spoke about the issue of Robb Elementary. That was different. This is a long-term chronic thing. Robb Elementary happened in 77 minutes. Yes, the flood came and went. However, the disaster, it's not over yet. And yes, the pain for the people in Robb Elementary will always be there in their memories and in the pain that they feel in their body and the trauma that they endured. But this is different. This is different from Robb Elementary. It has its similarities, but I learned. It was quite obvious, only because of my experience and what I knew, that what they did at Robb Elementary was completely wrong. And in the face of many people hating me and not wanting me to talk about it, I still spoke of it, because how can you not? And even though it took weeks, months, years for them to see that the things that I was saying in that first, second, third day wasn't wrong. This is different. This is different because this is... When you see people like pediatricians making statements about wishing good outcomes to certain children, to certain victims, and basically relaying the message that because of a political affiliation, other ones should not have good outcomes. You didn't see that with Uvalde. You didn't see that with Uvalde the way that you're seeing this right now. All that has to pass, in my opinion. So, that's what I have to say about it. Are you still here? My prayers go out to everybody, to the family, to the survivors, to the leaders that showed initiative, to the leaders that didn't know enough, because I don't think anybody intended to do anything bad at all. You see, that's the difference between Uvalde. Uvalde, they chose to do absolutely nothing. When the rule book was already out there for them. This is different. This is different. I'm gonna let you go now, and well, that's it. I'm going back on my hiatus. I can't really see your comments. I don't know if you're commenting. Thank you, Rosie. Thank you. Okay. Well, that's it. I love y'all. And be well and safe. And I'm just going to keep praying for the best outcomes for everybody. Regardless of political affiliation. Regardless. Regardless of how much money a lot of the victims' parents had. Regardless of any of that. I'm going to pray for the best outcome for everybody and send them the most positive energy. I'm not going to be there doing that right now. Thank you. Bye.